Ever since I was a teenager, I had one goal. I wanted out of my parents' house. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I just knew that home never felt calm. My dad drank heavily on weekends, arguments were normal, and privacy barely existed. As I got older, things didn't improve. They only became harder to ignore. There was no chance I'd ever bring anyone back there. And deep down, I knew I needed my own place as soon as possible. At 19, while attending a nearby commuter college, I started looking for apartments obsessively. Zillow, Facebook groups, Craigslist. Every day, multiple times a day. My parents wouldn't help me move away for school, so this was the only way out. Eventually, I found a small apartment that looked almost too good for the price. I went to see it right away. The layout was simple. You walked straight into an open living and dining space. The kitchen sat just off to the side, separated by a wall. A narrow hallway led past two closets and a bathroom, ending at a surprisingly large bedroom. It fit everything easily. Bed, TV, dressers, closets. I didn't hesitate. I signed the lease. The first few months were quiet, peaceful even. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe. Looking back now, that calm should have scared me. One night, I went out with friends and ran into a girl I knew casually from school. I'll call her Sammy. We talked, drank a bit, and eventually ended up back at my apartment. Nothing crazy happened. We watched a movie, drank a little more, and ended up passing out in my bed. Sometime later, I woke up. This time, it wasn't footsteps. It was a loud noise, sudden enough to jolt me fully awake. My heart started pounding immediately. I called out Sammy's name again, even though I already knew she wasn't there. I didn't want to get out of bed. Something felt wrong. Instead, I grabbed my phone and texted her asking if she was still in my apartment. Even as I sent it, I knew how strange that was. My bedroom door was still open. That's when I noticed something at the edge of the doorway. At first, I thought my eyes were just adjusting to the dark, but the longer I stared, the faster my breathing became. Something was wrapped around the doorframe. I told myself not to panic. I swiped down on my phone and turned on the flashlight. Two hands were gripping the frame. The moment the light hit them, the fingers tightened and then vanished out of sight. I screamed. I don't even remember exactly what I yelled, just panic, noise, get out, over and over. I jumped out of bed, flipped on every light in the apartment and searched every single room, closets, bathroom, kitchen, behind furniture. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. What bothered me most was something I couldn't explain. I never remembered hearing the front door open again. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was a hallucination, alcohol, fear, exhaustion. But when I examined the doorframe in daylight, my stomach dropped. There were fingerprints, exactly where I had seen the hands. I finished my lease and moved out as soon as I could. Growing up, my parents were almost never home. My dad traveled constantly for work, and my mom was always out with friends or staying with relatives. By the time I was 16, I was basically living alone. That mattered because I knew that house. Every creak, every sound, every shift of old wood. So when something felt wrong, I noticed immediately. One night, I knew for a fact I'd be alone. My dad was out of town, and my mom was staying overnight with family. I spent the evening like any other. Food, TV, then YouTube in bed. Around 11, my phone rang. No caller ID. I ignored it. It rang again right away. That's what made me answer. At first, there was silence. Then I heard faint audio, a television playing somewhere. My stomach tightened when I realized the sound matched the TV I'd left on downstairs. Perfectly. No delay, no distortion. Whoever was on the line was hearing it in real time. I walked slowly to my bedroom door and listened. The sound on the phone stayed synced. That's when I yelled downstairs, asking who was there. The call disconnected. Minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Same number. I answered. This time, I didn't hear the TV. I heard footsteps. At the exact same moment, I heard them outside my bedroom door. The handle moved. I locked the door and called my uncle. When he started shouting on the phone, the caller hung up and the footsteps retreated. The police later found an open window. Someone had been inside my house, calling me from it. After a night of drinking, I crashed on a friend's basement couch. The basement was almost completely dark. The only light came from electronics and a small mini fridge humming in the corner. That steady noise was the only reason I fell asleep. I woke up hours later with my mouth painfully dry. That's when I noticed something in the corner. A shape, too tall to be furniture, too solid to be shadows. It moved. I stayed still, pretended not to notice. I stretched, yawned, and talked to myself like I was just waking up and needed water. Slowly, calmly, I walked toward the stairs. As I reached them, I glanced back. The figure was closer. I ran. The basement door slammed behind me. Moments later, we found the back door wide open. No one was ever caught, and I never slept in that basement again.